What's going on YouTube? This is Jake here. That's going to be my first interview. Today we're going to be starting it off strong with the drummer for the infamous Bonginator. Joseph, are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so first question is on the upcoming album that we are all highly anticipated for, Retro Death. Are we to expect the same dodgeball effect snare tone, or is it going to be similar to Blood Diner, or is it going to be a little bit of experimentation with the kit?
It's pretty similar. Uh, yeah. It sounds a little different, but we have the same guy, Sean from Frog Mallet,
Gotcha.
that helped us record the drums. Sean and Eric, of course. Eric does a lot of the drum stuff hands-on, including a lot of the ideas that are on this new album. But yeah, so it was a series. I would describe it as a dodgeball, but like I don't know, it's a little. I don't want to say it's. I don't know. You're just gonna have to hear it, I guess. But it's definitely loud, and obnoxious. But it's just hard now these days because every band is doing the dodgeball snare, so it's hard to compete.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
it's
you
hard to
got
make
it
your snares as obnoxious or more obnoxious than everyone else's. But yeah,
for sure. It's a great
it'll
answer
be
on
loud.
the. Well, oh yeah, that's what we're all hoping for. We love. I think we all love
Loud,
hearing
loud,
the.
loud and sustained. Loud and sustained.
Great. That's great
Yeah.
news for all of us. I saw you
Yeah.
play on the Froginator 4 tour with the Notorious Frogmen out here in Houston, Texas, and you guys just absolutely killed it. Do you have a personal favorite song to play live?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Probably one of our new songs, which is about the very first song that we play, which well, I was gonna say I don't want to give too much away about the album, but I think it's pretty apparent. It's the song. I don't know if it's good. We're gonna call it, but it's about They Live. I think we're just gonna call it They Live.
Okay.
Hopefully Eric is okay with me disclosing that. I think so. It's probably because we played it a ton at this point, but yeah, just I really that song is fun both to listen to and play. It's because this is kind of like a straightforward rock beat, but it's fast paced. Most of the other guys would say the Ninja Turtles song though,
Yeah,
which again is another spoiler. But if you've seen us live, you recently we've been playing that a lot, so all the new stuff pretty much.
for sure. Anything off of Intergalactic that you specifically like, or is it a little more
Yeah, I still love playing Zombie Party Rockers. Yeah, no,
love it,
that's actually
love it,
probably still that'll still probably always be one of my favorites.
love it?
Yeah,
That one's a really good one for
yeah,
sure. Y'all
the
definitely
two step is my favorite. Yeah.
yes. On the next one, first off, I will say Joseph has an amazing taste in music. Anything he posts, usually I will go check out. And this one is a little embarrassing. It
Thank
took
you.
me a while to get into, but he definitely got me into the Whitechapel train.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah.
So with that, how did you discover Whitechapel, and are there any other big influences similar around that time that you found?
I listened to Whitechapel probably since I was like 14, maybe even earlier. I'm like almost 27 now.
Gotcha.
26. I'll be 27 in June. But yeah, 'cause I remember seeing with my dad at the Altar Bar, at this venue in Pittsburgh that's no longer around, called the Altar Bar in like 2014.
Mhm.
It's like it was a small church that got converted into a venue.
Oh,
But that's no longer around. But now there's a ton of other venues in Pittsburgh that are like churches that are converted to venues. So that's a weird coincidence. But yeah, I digress. That's beside the point. But yeah, I've been listening to Whitechapel for a while, but I honestly kind of fell off with them for a bit. I did like because they kind of went through an experimental period where they did like clean vocal stuff, and I really like some of that stuff too. Um, but just when I heard some of the previews and some of the interviews that their vocals Phil was doing about the new album and how inspired they were to just like go full out heavy and like just kind of really like flex their chops and stuff. I was really excited. And obviously the album delivered. But yeah, I'm definitely like the only like deathcore apologist in the band. The rest of the guys don't really like deathcore or metalcore. I'm more of the core guy in general. I mean, the rest of the guys like the more straight up hardcore stuff, but I'm the only one that's really kind of the still has the soft spot for the scene kid music, quote
yeah.
unquote. Although I wouldn't call Whitechapel a scene kid band, but Um, Code Orange is probably like the number one band that got me really inspired because they're being from Pittsburgh, they're local. And yeah, I remember seeing them at the Altar Bar in like 2015, opening for Terror actually. And yeah, I remember talking to Jamie, their at the time drummer, now lead vocalist. And just like I remember that moment, just like being able to talk to someone from a band and being like, "Oh, they're just normal people." I was like, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah,
kind of mind blowing. But I could give a really long answer to that question, but yeah, I hope that's a bit of insight.
for sure.
Uh, yeah, so many
One
so many bands I could list.
one that I think that I've seen you post a lot is Signs of the Swarm.
Oh yeah, Signs another Pittsburgh band. I'm all
Yes, sir.
about putting on Pittsburgh, but yeah, I just saw them the other night, just a couple nights ago, um, and yeah, they're so fucking tight. Their current lineup is definitely their best. Yeah, I'm really excited. And David actually tattooed me. He tattooed the side of my hip recently because
See,
I had an old Signs of the Swarm tattoo that I got covered up when I did my whole front torso. Um, so he redid it
for
on
sure,
the
for
side of
sure.
my hip.
Next question that I'm gonna have for you is I've seen on your Instagram before you playing a beautiful black Telecaster and you're playing a Razor meets wrist riff and it was amazing. So my question
Wrist me
is
razor.
wrist meets razor, so sorry.
Yeah.
Uh
No, you're good.
if you were to have the weird instance where you just couldn't play drums or just something was to happen, would you want to switch over or would it just be
I
your
mean, I guess I'd try, but I'd get pretty discouraged because guitars just never come nearly as naturally for me as drums. I've been playing drums and taking like I started taking lessons formally, drum lessons formally probably when I was like 11 and a half. So I've been on, yeah, like pretty much, yeah, 15 years of serious drumming. I started taking guitar lessons not like that much. Like I started taking guitar lessons when I was 16. So I mean definitely older. Um, but also at that point I was already I considered myself a drummer and I was already so good. You know what I mean? I felt so confident drumming that it was hard. I feel like to get the motivation to practice as consistently as I should have with guitar to get good. And I'm still now finding that, like 10 years later, or I guess like, yeah, 10 years later, 11 years later, um, I can, I've gone through periods of picking up the guitar and playing it, but nothing, no periods and no like sort of consistent practice schedule. I think to seriously develop my skills, but I've done a lot of like tab reading and stuff, and I should really just get back into taking lessons and stuff. But to long answer for your question is, I just would probably be fucked.
yeah, hey, I would
Like
too
honestly, yeah,
if I was
yeah,
to somehow lose some of my
yeah,
fingers and I
yeah.
couldn't I'd be screwed, man.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, yeah, 100% most comfortable behind the drum set.
For sure. Next question is, how did you become connected with Eric? And was it more of a them finding you, or you found them kind of a thing? The whole
So I've
Bonginator.
actually, yeah, Eric, I've known Eric, well, no, I met Eric for the first time in 2017. Um, we actually went to music school together, in Berkeley. We don't mention that, too often because, there's a whole stigma behind that about like Berkeley bands, like Berkeley core, and people just think of like fucking Dream Theater and shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
our band, we catch enough heat and get made fun of enough as is. So I really don't mention that unless it's relevant. But yeah, I think it's obviously relevant to how I met Eric because yeah, we met. He was one of the very first people to introduce himself to me. And he was in another band for a few years, called Mudfuck. They were like a
Yeah.
metalcore, like thrash core band, kind of. So he was in that band for a while. I was kind of doing my own thing with several different bands. He, and that this was 2017, for a couple of years, and then I think he left Berkeley after like a year or something. But he still lived in Boston, was still like, active in the scene, very active in the music scene, and even active in that community of people. But then of course the pandemic happened, 2020. I ended up finishing school online, so I moved back home to Pittsburgh. um, but then I eventually moved back to Boston in the end of 2022 to reconnect and start playing with one of my other older bands, and that eventually fizzled out. But in the during that same, timing is everything, I guess. Around that same time, the original drummer for the original drummer for Bonginator, Jake, had left, uh, or like pretty recently. Like this was like the around October, November 2022. So Eric, I remember he posted on Facebook about originally just needing a fill-in drummer. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not doing much with my other band. And I was like, I saw the opportunity. So I messaged him about it. So I ended up filling in that weekend. For my first experience with Bong there was a weekender in New England. And then we played Maine. We played the venue actually where I think my very first show actually ever with Bong there was at the Charlie's Hill venue where the Bonanza takes place now.
So yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm pretty sure that was my first show. It was definitely one of those first three, and then another one was in Rhode Island. I can't remember what the other one was, but that was with our good friends in Wretched Inferno. But
Gotcha.
I was yeah, so I was filling in for that, and then eventually it just became became more apparent that Jake was going to be moving on to his other projects and not coming back to Bonginator. And Eric eventually gave me the formal. Well, he invited me to join in for this tour. I no, it wasn't the Frognate tour because we did that. We usually do that in February. We did it in January this year, but we did a tour in like January of 2023, just like a big tour, like all the way down to Florida and back,
Mhm.
or something like that. But I agreed initially just to do that tour, but I think somewhere in the middle of that tour, it came up that Eric wanted me, or was inviting me to join as a full time member, and so, and around that same time is when Ben came into the fold. He's also known Ben for a while for the same reason. Ben also went to Berkeley. I think he started the year after us. But Ben was also in Mudfuck at one point. Ben's also, but he's been in a bunch of bands. He was in a really cool beatdown band, like beatdown deathcore. I don't know what you call them, but from Long Island called Vile Tongue. Um, and now he and their old drummer are in RSI together, which is Vic, Eric's partner, Eric's fiance, Vic's band. Um,
Yeah.
but and then sorry, I keep ranting. But Jack came into the fold because Jack's the only one who's actually from Massachusetts.
Gotcha.
And he's just been active in the Massachusetts metal scene for forever. So I think Eric knew him through that and going to a bunch of shows. And of course, long before Jack was in Bonginator, he and Eric had the Project Scissor Hash. So eventually, it's just like, okay, well, fuck it.
Yeah, yeah.
All of Scissor Nash is going to be in Bonginator. Bonginator is going to be half Scissor Hash, but yeah, and Jack, he kind of learned bass for Bonginator. He'd always kind of noodled around, but he's definitely kind of locked in and kind of forced himself to pick up a lot of skills in a short amount of time, which is awesome. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's how we
Uh,
all know each other.
that actually plays perfect into the next question. 'Cause I was going to ask about the Blood Diner music video shoot. And one
Yeah,
thing that it might have been coincidence that the guy looked like him, but is the guy being sacrificed Jack?
that is Jack. That
Okay,
is Jack.
okay, yep.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, it's kind of funny that it worked out because honestly, if we had known at the time that we were about to, because this was filmed like while Ron was still in the band, if we had known that like in just a few months Ron would Jack would be our new bassist, that it would have made more sense for the video for us to kill Ron.
Yeah,
Um, but no, we love Ron, so we won't do
maybe
that.
I'll return him
But
to
we had to
some
kill
party
Jack,
rock.
so I guess we don't love. No, we love Jack too. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was just a coincidence that again, Eric and Jack are like best friends, so they're just always hanging out. He just agreed, we just needed someone to kill for that video, and Jack was like, "Hell yeah!" Of course, Jack being the horror fanatic that he is, especially like cheap, B horror stuff that's like intentionally corny and gory. He was all about that. So yeah, that is indeed Jack.
Awesome. Do we have any clue on color of vinyl possibly for Retro Death, or is that still up in the air?
Oh, I have no idea. I wish. Yeah, we're like just now like getting the details for like the art and
Gotcha.
like I think we finally have ironed out all the mixes and the masters. Hopefully I'm not speaking too much. I think it's not basically the album's ready to go. We'll just have to, but it might not be out until the later. It's probably not going to be out until the later half of the year, but it'll definitely be out before the end of the year. Um, but as far as vinyl colors go, I have no idea, but knowing I mean if Eric were to have any input and if it's gonna, be any sort of match to the color scheme we usually go with, it would hopefully be something neon. We love our green, our greens, our pinks, our purples. But that's just me saying what Bonginator would like, it's not really I have no idea. I guess it's up to our current label testimony records, what we do as far as like physical releases for that goes. But we will definitely be pressing vinyl.
And then along with that, do you
Yeah.
collect records yourself?
Oh yes, yes. For a while I wasn't because as you know it's a money pit, and for a while my money pit has been tattoos. Um, but I've recently been just getting back into it. There's just so much bullshit that's been coming out. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a completionist.
Hmm.
My kind of philosophy is I really just get records that I like and that I would listen to. So like if a band puts out a dud album, I'm probably not going to buy it on vinyl, even if it's a band I really love. Maybe I'll change my philosophy about that. But yeah, so I mainly just collect albums I like. Cool like special edition shit if I can find it. Like record store day shit. I know there's a couple things coming out on record store day this year that I was kind of intrigued about getting, but I don't know if I want to get up that early. but yeah, no, collecting vinyl is fun. And yeah, I just actually like a couple weeks ago like ordered a new shelf like rack thing that I was able to organize. I don't know exactly how many, but I definitely have upwards of 50 though.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Probably like 50 to 100 somewhere. From accumulated from over the years, from like when I was a teenager. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Sure. Next question. If you could bank on playing one song, it's very hard to play any song note for note at any instrument, just based on how different people play. But if you could bank on playing one song to save your life, what would it be?
Um, Probably, I guess at this point, probably Seven Nation Army, because I work at School of Rock. Yeah, I've been doing that for the past, 6 months or so. So I teach kids how to play drums, and that is one of the four Rock 101 songs. So become so sick and tired of that song. But if I had to play something literally note for note, it'd probably be that. I was gonna say "Smells Like Teen Spirit" because that's another song that played so much. But like, I'm sure I would do like one or two fills like slightly different than Dave Grohl. If I had to like lock in and really like play exactly what Meg White played for Seven Nation Army, I could probably do it. But there's still a chance I might mess up an extra and play an extra note or something. So hopefully, I'm never put in that circumstance.
Hoping.
That would suck. Yeah.
And that's going to be concluded for the interview. If you wanted to plug any socials or announce anything or say anything at all, this is you can do that.
Yeah, I guess we'll obviously follow Bonginator, Bonginator.ma on Instagram, Bonginator MA on TikTok. That's the thing with TikTok's still a thing. Um, Fuck Twitter because Elon ruined it. I'm Grass Casket, like glass casket, but with an R on Instagram and TikTok. I just post drum stuff on TikTok, but I need to get better at recording stuff so people are more inclined to watch my shit. And what else am I on? I guess that's really it. Because I was gonna say, yeah, I was on Twitter, but yeah, Elon ruined it, so I deactivated mine. What else is there? No, that's really it. Yeah. Thanks for having me.